Thank you so much for joining Vitv channel. Early this year, the National Assembly set the GDP growth target for Vietnam in 2013 of 5.5%, but a lot of local and international organizations have cast it down on the feasibility of the target. What are your opinions?
Well, I think to answer the question first, we should look at what the growth rate has been in the first half of 2013. And according to the data that's been released by the Government Statistics Office, that was 4.9. To achieve a targeted growth rate of 5.5 in 2013 would mean that the economy grows by a little over 6% in the second half. The momentum in the economy is not that strong yet. When you look at the indicators of industrial production from the supply side, or when you look at the indicators from the demand side, for example, retail sales, or when you look at credit growth in the economy, the indicators are not strong enough to imply that the growth rate could be as high as 6% in the second half of the year. So the 5%, 5.5% for the year as a whole looks a little ambitious.
The global economic downturn has its impacts on Vietnam in the past few years, but in the first 6 months of this year, Vietnam has had some success in stabilizing the macroeconomy, especially in curbing inflation. What do you think are the conditions of the economy and financial situation in the rest 4 months of this year?
As you said, the inflation has been low, 7.5% in the first 8 months of the year, and we expect inflation to continue around that rate. There will be a little bit of a pressure from some administered price increases that took place in August and some others that might take place in September, but we are expecting inflation to remain in the single digits. There is a little bit of momentum in growth, so we are expecting growth to pick up during the third and the fourth quarter a little bit. So there is some room for that as well. In terms of the rest of the economy, we are hoping and we expect that there will be some more improvement in the state of the banking system now that the asset management company has been formed. And if it starts to do some of its operations quickly, there might be some relief in the banking sector. But there is a lot more work that needs to be done in that area.
You have mentioned a very key factor of the economy, that is a banking system. As we know, the Vietnamese banking system is characterized by high non-performing loan ratio. Despite the government efforts of including the establishment of the VMC in July the 26th, non-performing loan ratio is still a problem in the economy. What do you think are the chances of resolving the problem and the financial situation in the rest of the year?
Well, first of all, banking sector problems, once they arise, they take a long time to sort out because the balance sheet of the banks have become a little difficult. The non-performing loans are an indication of problems that have accumulated over several years. Credit growth was very high, and when the economy slows down, or if there's a real estate bubble, as we saw over the last few years, then those problems take some time to sort out. Therefore, the asset management company is an important step in the resolution of those problems, but it is one of the steps that needs to be taken. Right now, the asset management company is set up in such a way that it can provide some liquidity support to the banks. But the fundamental problem, which is taking the non-performing loans off the books of the banks and resolving them. If those loans cannot be collected, then they have to be written off. The balance sheets of the banks then have to be recapitalized. Those things will take time. And in that, the speed with which the government is able to make an effort, the speed with which the State Bank of Vietnam insists that the bank clean the balance sheets and raise more capital are very important. So there's a lot of work that still remains to be done in those areas.
Yeah, sure. And finally, can you share your prospects on the economy in the next year to come?
It's a little too early to say. We are still in the sort of the third quarter, fourth quarter of the year. But if the improvements in the economy growth sort of continues the way it is, if there's a little bit of momentum, we could expect to see slightly higher growth next year. But that depends on a number of policies being in place. Most important among them is to maintain macroeconomic stability. The economy did much better on that front in 2012 and 2013. So it would be important to maintain macroeconomic stability. In the area of structural reforms, we've discussed the issue of the banking system. The state-owned enterprises is another area where I think there is room to do a lot more to make them more efficient, much more transparent, so that they make a bigger contribution to growth in the economy. At the same time, what happens in the global economy is very important too for Vietnam. It's a large exporter, and the kind of growth that we see in the United States or Europe or other parts of the world has an important impact on Vietnam. Also, commodity prices in the global economy have an impact on Vietnam. The price of rice, the price of coffee is all very important for Vietnam. We are also seeing that the global financial markets have been going through some changes in the last few months because economic policies in the US and other advanced countries are also changing. So some of those financial market changes have been affecting Vietnam as well. But I think all said, the domestic policies of the government of Vietnam and the State Bank of Vietnam will be very important determinants of the kind of growth that we see next year in 2014.
And thank you so much for joining our program today.
Thank you very much.